Hello, and welcome to Marketing Global Edition with me, Jasmine Montgomery.
And me, Piers 𝐒𝐲.
So, Piers, today I really want to talk about something that I have been really noticing every time I take the tube. And that is, I'm sorry for people who aren't in London, because you may not know where we're talking about, but practically every time I get on the London Underground at the moment, I end up seeing and reacting to an ad from a campaign by 𝐒𝐿𝐴, star of, among other things, The Office. And he,
very well-known person, yep.
Very well-known person.
Very well-known comedian.
Yeah, with a very, very edgy, irreverent, quite rude, takes no prisoners sense of humour. And he has become an investor in a vodka called Dutch Barn. Which is an unusual vodka, I think, because it's made from quite an unusual ingredient.
It's made from Yorkshire apples, I think, actually, isn't it?
Well, it's the apples.
It's an English vodka.
That I thought were peculiar, not the Yorkshire part. But now that you mention it, it's weird. It does have a little bit of potato in, but it's mostly apples.
Okay.
And
it's a new world of vodka.
Yes. Although it is not a new world of celebrity spirits, because we all know that people like George Clooney and so on have kind of, you know, tequila.
Dwayne Johnson,
Dwayne
The Rock, he's got
Johnson.
tequila. Yeah, I know that.
A lot of people have tequila or mezcal, and then there are vodka, celebrity vodkas. I mean, I think some Kardashians have one, of course, they would.
Chris Rock, probably.
Probably.
Everyone, probably.
I mean, everybody. I'm feeling a little bit like, I guess we're not celebrities, but when we finally hit the big time, Piers.
You're going to have vodka?
I might have a gin. I'm more of a gin girl.
Yeah?
I might have a Jasmine gin.
Okay.
Would you have?
I'll go for beer.
Yeah, you would. There would be a Piers beer. A 𝐒𝐲𝐻𝐿 pint. So, okay, but here's why we want to discuss it. Not just because it's a celebrity vodka, but because his ads are really, really controversial.
They are. They've been commented on everywhere, and they are in the news at the moment, aren't they?
They are in the news at the moment. And I have to say, I know we've got an international audience, and not everybody is going to be comfortable with swearing. If we're going to try and maybe clean it up a little bit for you, but if you're really uncomfortable with swearing, turn off this podcast now, is all I can say. And if we offend anybody, we're not really all that sorry. Okay, so here are the kinds of things that the 𝐒𝐿𝐴 ads do, right? So they're on the tube, and one of the first things that they do is they say stuff that's really relevant to the tube. So they say things like, please use headphones when using your phone or iPad. Use thick, noisy C word.
Another one down in the tube. I mean, I actually saw this. I think I saw this one actually. I did.
Yeah.
And I'm waiting for the tube, and it says Ricky's there with a glass of vodka in his hand, saying, "Don't jump. You'll make everyone late for work. You selfish
prick." You can say prick.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it was just the C word that we're going to be careful with.
Fine.
Okay. I think the rest of them. And then he's got one that is really very funny. There's one that they're always him kind of holding up a glass of vodka. But basically, it's the same visual for all of them. So one of them says, "Buying Dutch Barn will make a person rich and happy. That person is 𝐒𝐿𝐴." Quite amusing. Okay. Do you want to do the next one?
Please give your seat to an elderly person or pregnant woman. Have some class. No, have some effing class.
Have some effing class. Okay, so a few others. Welcome to London, it says, wear a stab vest.
Or hold on to your phone.
And then there's another one that says, welcome to London, hold on to your phone. Those are for tourists.
True, so social commentaries coming in there.
Yeah, and then there's another one that says, win £1 million. This isn't a competition, just advice. So that's quite amusing. Anyway, so you get the gist, okay? So I think we've got some questions that we wanted to ask on this podcast. First of all, I guess the question is, Piers, are they funny?
For me, absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's a brand of comedy. It's 𝐒𝐿𝐴's comedy. It doesn't. I think the vodka is slightly irrelevant. Actually, it's just literally 𝐒𝐿𝐴 cracking his jokes on enemy in an ad campaign, and it's either you love it or you hate it. It's very Marmite, and I am a lover of his comedy. I don't get upset by it. I love the fact he's really edgy, and I applaud him for it, personally.
Yeah, so I'm going to argue with Piers on some of this, because that's my job here, but I can't argue with the funny, right? They are hilariously funny. But when I first...
Not the way we
No, not the way we presented them. We didn't do them justice. Look them up online. They're really, really funny.
They're terrible.
Right? Oh, no, we weren't that bad. Come on. All right. I think they're really, really funny. But I must say, when I first saw them, I thought to myself, is this advertising or is this comedy? And I genuinely wasn't sure if there was actually a vodka behind it or whether this was just his latest idea of funny. It's like he was using kind of advertising, as a format for comedy. I think that they work as comedy, definitely. I just don't know if they work as, or should work, or do work as advertising.
Well, look, this is a new vodka entering the market, well, relatively new, 2023, whatever, I don't know. It's a UK vodka, so it's up against global Absolute, it's up against Smirnoff, it's up against Russian Standard, loads of like really well-established vodkas with really strong provenance that are doing really well. And then along comes this new startup. How do you market that? You need to be really disruptive, all right? Otherwise, you're not gonna beat them at their own game. You have to do something different. I'd say be better at them or be different to them, right? And I think using Ricky Gervais's comedy is really, really different. It's really disruptive, and it's doing exactly what they wanted. Everyone's talking about it. Okay. And it's getting loads of free PR.
You're moving into my other questions in a minute. But first of all, I think we both have to agree that they are funny. Like, I can't sit here and say, my favourite one, I didn't tell you my favourite one, which is what really got me into this campaign, which was, if you don't like dogs, you can just F right off. Which just totally spoke to me. I love that.
It's totally,
and by the way, he gives
yeah.
quite a lot of, and they look after donkeys. I think some of the profits go to the donkey sanctuary, which I love.
That's
great.
That.
Yeah.
Well,
it's also
like,
nice. Yeah, it's also very sustainable. But yeah,
nothing to do with vodka. But
no. But it's not. He's a real animal lover, which warms me to him hugely. Okay, but so
Hates
a couple
kids.
of questions. Oh, really? Does he hate kids?
I think so.
Oh no, that's really funny.
I don't know. Actually, I don't know.
Okay, so one of my questions is it okay to swear in advertising? Is it okay to use, the C word on the tube?
No. And the Advertising Standards Authority would not be happy about that, and nor would TfL, Transport for London, who allow the ads to be placed on their underground system. And actually, the ones with the swear words didn't run. They're not real ads.
Oh, that's so funny. Right, yes. So, tell the story. So this is really funny.
It's just for me again. It's clever marketing. So he's come in. One, there's some pretty provocative ads from using his humour,
which did actually appear on the tube.
Which did, but then he says, on his own social feed, here's some that didn't, because they were going to get banned. So they didn't. Right. I don't know if they even got put forward, really.
No, so he says that they were, banned by the powers that be. But actually, when journalists have gone to the powers that be, in other words, Transport for London, and said, did you ban these ads? Transport for London have said, we never actually saw those ads. So the really, really edgy ones, the ones that had the F word, the C word, were not actually on the tube. But what's so funny is that he's actually mocked them up. So they look like they're on the tube. And so when you go onto social, you see them on the tube, but it's fake.
So the actual truth of this is, right?
Yeah.
If you asked me like a day ago, I'd have said yes, they ran on the tube.
Yeah.
Because I actually thought that. It's only for having a look.
Yeah, because they're all in exactly the same style as the ones that actually ran. So the lighter touch ones actually ran.
And Ricky Gervais's following, of which I follow on Instagram, it's it's large. So a lot of people are seeing the mocked up ones.
Yeah, and he says they got like tens of thousands of people going to their website after seeing the social media campaign in which he was blasting the powers that be. So there's a whole fictitious element to this whole campaign where it's a sort of meta narrative of the campaign talking about itself actually, garnered all this extra social media buzz. So it's pretty funny.
A lot of people don't find it funny though.
Right.
There's
that's
a lot
true.
of commentary, but it's Ricky Gervais humour, isn't
right.
it? A lot of people do not like it. A lot of people do. And he has that classic quote, just because you're offended doesn't mean that you're right. That's his brand of humour, right?
Yeah.
He says, and he's, I love this other one he says, it's offence is taken, not given. The listener chooses to feel offended. The joke itself isn't an attack. And he says, no topics are taboo or off limits if handled skillfully. So interesting views.
I believe that totally when it comes to comedy. So I think that there should be no censoring of comedy. For me, comedy should have complete and utter free speech. It's just speech. It's not, as he says, it's not an actual action. It's not an attack. And it's there purely to entertain and challenge our thinking. And somebody once said that comedy is what you do when there's like leftover IQ or something. It's like the most intelligent, I think it's the most intelligent thing we do. And I think that comedy, everything should be allowed in comedy. But comedy isn't necessarily advertising. Now, you can harness comedy for advertising. And then I think you need to have guardrails on it a little bit. So I am a little bit shocked
But the
and
ones that
appalled.
ran in advertising are okay. They're not too provocative.
Right.
You know, one day you'll be underground for good. It's not that bad, you know.
Yeah.
Whereas the the swear wordy ones, the really terrible ones that maybe didn't run, are comedy because they're on his feed.
Yeah.
So the reality is, I think he's blurring comedy to be used in advertising, and he's using the more provocative stuff on his feed. So
that's true.
for a punter like me or the average Joe, you just see it and think, oh.
But even in the ones that he's mocked up and put on social media, that is a channel in a sense. So they may not have been on the tube, but they are on social, and that is a channel. And so it brings me to my next question, which is it okay to joke about suicide and knife crime? Like, is that okay in advertising?
Yes. For me, I feel advertising pushes the agenda, right? It should push the agenda of what's right and what should get talked about, whether it's about...
I don't agree. I think that's the role of comedy. The role of advertising is to sell stuff without offending grannies as they're going to Sainsbury's.
Do it in a way, before, you know, we're going to be saying, you know, oh no, I won't go into that other...
It's okay. Free speech argument. Free speech is
I think advertising, you know, it's good that it addresses the zeitgeist, social issues. It's talking about knife crime. It's talking about phones being stolen. It is the zeitgeist of what's being talked about and what people fear about when they're travelling in London at the moment.
I think that in a world where so much work is being done to try to, you know, make mental health something that we can all talk about openly, to talk about things like suicidal ideation, you know, particularly when it comes to men, you know, that so much good stuff is being done. People like Prince William, Kate, people all over the world trying to kind of, you know, destigmatize this. And then he comes along with something really glib, really unsympathetic. Don't jump, you'll make everyone late for work, you selfish prick, is the ad. It's okay. You think it's funny. I can see you think it's funny. Piers is laughing. If you're listening, Piers can't help laughing. It is funny. It's funny in comedy, but there's a place for comedy because people channel themselves towards comedy, right? Advertising gets pushed at you.
But this is a ad space. You know, it's not a.
You didn't choose it. You didn't pay to go to comedy night to see this. It's getting pushed at you. You didn't go onto the Netflix channel and like actively go and search for this.
You didn't pay to watch it though. It's there.
You should get insulted
ignore
for
it.
free.
You can ignore it.
Yeah, but just because it's free doesn't make it. It's being pushed at you. You don't have a choice. And there are a lot of people out there who are struggling with these issues. And I don't think it's okay to. I think it's mean-spirited. The thing, which is true of Ricky Gervais's humour sometimes, like it's mean-spirited.
But in that case, that's like now you've sort of like, why don't you cancel Ricky Gervais then and his comedy shows and you know the
I don't want to cancel him. I just don't particularly. He can. I'm delighted for you to watch him. But why do I have to when I'm standing on the tube? I don't go on to Netflix and watch Ricky Gervais. He's not my comedian.
Well, you're not going to buy the vodka either.
I'm more of a Michael McIntyre girl, I've got to say. You know, but Jimmy Carr, who's edgy, but I have to stand on the tube and look at that stuff. I mean, I do actually find it really funny. I've got to admit, I find it funny.
But
I don't think it's acceptable.
Someone with mental illness, do you think that would be offensive to them?
But it's not really up to you or me to decide.
Well, there you go.
The fact is, it is clearly mocking and using, you know, something really serious.
Which is his brand of comedy.
I'm not arguing that. Yeah, no, of course it's his brand of comedy.
You know, I think it's fine, but you.
No,
don't.
I don't. I think there are certain social issues. I think things like knife crime, murder, rape. I don't think rape, for example. Like,
but he covers all those and
I know,
and worse
but I
in his
would
comedy.
not. I mean,
that's my point.
Take it to a logical conclusion as a thought experiment. If it were an ad about rape, would that be okay? Just because some portion of the population found it funny, would it be okay? If he was joking about the murder of a young black kid, you know, would it be okay? He's not. But I'm just saying, if he were, there are limits, and
But they're not in his comedy because he does bring it in. He even brings in some terrible things.
Yeah, he does. That
are worse than all the things you just mentioned.
Jimmy brings in some pretty shocking things, but not in advertising. Okay, all right. Piers and I differ about the question about is it okay to joke about suicide and knife crime. Is it okay generally to use humour that is offensive to people in advertising?
See, again, it's offensive for some but not for others.
Right.
I think the point is it okay to use something that's really disruptive, where some people agree with it and some people don't? And I think brands have been doing this for years. So I'll give you a really famous example that was on for years. It's Benetton.
Yeah.
So Benetton's advertising. Benetton built its brand on being controversial.
Yeah, it did.
And it did so well. Interestingly, though, they stopped. And where are they now?
Well, I'm not sure if that's entirely the reason the Benetton went under. We should research that before we claim that is why, because they stopped being controversial.
Well, but
listen,
where are they now?
Okay, this podcast is a friend of disruption in communications and advertising. I think both of us would say disruption is good. Is there a line? I think there is. I think there's a line.
Interestingly, I'm so pro these ads and Ricky Gervais's comedy, and I like them. And I think it's interesting for a relatively unknown vodka to use this campaign to disrupt. However,
it's really clever.
However,
yeah.
I think it's very short term, and I think it's actually.
Why?
Well, what happens if Ricky Gervais himself gets cancelled? Something terrible happens to him. All of a sudden, this brand is. Where's this brand going to be? Because no one knows anything about the product.
That's true.
Right? They say it's got apples from Yorkshire or something like that. I don't know. But it doesn't. There's no story behind the actual product. There's no reason to buy it beyond Ricky Gervais's comedy. And I think that is short term. It's not really building a long term brand. And that's what I'd worry about. Actually.
Would it be okay for me to say, what if Ricky Gervais one day commits suicide by jumping in front of a tube train?
Yeah.
In the spirit of Ricky Gervais,
funny.
Is that okay for me to say on this podcast? Like, that is in the spirit of Ricky Gervais. That would be ironic. No, but seriously,
but what happens to the brand then?
No, that's true. I really don't want you to do that, Ricky. If you're listening, hello, hi, honoured you're here. Please don't jump in front of a train. Okay, so I see what you're saying. I do think that anything that relies totally heavily on one celebrity is, that celebrity gets into trouble. Sean Diddy Coombs has a vodka.
Yeezy. Well, Yeezy trainers,
or Yeezy trainers, but literally, Diddy has a vodka. Had Ciroc, and Ciroc have now had to massively distance themselves from him, and which is just such a. So I mean, I don't know what Ricky's up to in his private life, but if he's, and I'm sure he's nothing like P Diddy, because he loves animals and he can't be a bad person if he loves animals that much. But that you're right. It is putting all their eggs in one basket. That is true.
There's a danger there. There is a danger.
I mean, our final question is is it effective marketing? And I think it is, in the sense that here we are talking about it, and you're right, it's a terribly niche little vodka, and here we are talking about it.
And everyone else. I mean,
everyone is talking about it in London right now.
Yeah,
everyone.
It's huge at the moment. So
yeah.
I would say it is effective for launching the product.
Yeah.
For the brand. It's
launching
the brand.
Would you have them move on now quite quickly and maybe go into some different, really satirical comedy, but not necessarily relying on him?
Yeah, I'd flip it and get him to talk about the product maybe next. I'd
just
get the product
somebody else.
in.
Just get other people, other humour, other copywriters. Yeah. See.
Something.
It's really interesting to me that this is a really British story, and when we're working in the Middle East, humour just doesn't operate in the same way, but it also doesn't operate in the same spaces. I don't think that you find really edgy humour in the Middle East very much, and I think a lot of that is because you also don't find so much vodka in the Middle East. I get that, but I think it's because there's a lot more there are a lot more political landmines in the Middle East. If you offend the wrong person, that's a lot more really truly difficult for your business to kind of overcome. But you do see it in Africa. You see pretty humorous stuff in Africa. Maybe a little bit less so in kind of the Chinese elements of Asia. I don't know.
What about personalities owning brands? How do you feel about that? I'm interested to know your opinion on. Do you think it'll be a success because it's a vodka owned by Ricky Gervais? People buy the tequila owned by Dwayne Johnson once, probably because Dwayne Johnson owns it. I wonder if they buy it on repeated times. The product needs to be good. The
product does need to be good, and apparently I haven't tried Clooney's Clooney's tequila, but people say it's really, really good, and actually I think that's why he did it. It was genuinely a cut above. The product does have to be good. What do I think about celebrities? I think we did a whole podcast on this. I think we'll do a link at the end. I think it's, as you said, it's wonderful in the sense that you get, people buy people. Hannah, our creative director, who's been on our podcast sometimes, always says people buy people, and particularly in a world driven by social media, I think personality is far more engaging than branding these days, which means we're in the wrong business. But anyway, but it's also fraught with peril, because in the kind of cancel culture world, and in the world where so little of a celebrity's private life can never really stay private, they put a foot wrong and you're just in a huge heap of trouble.
Which is why I worry for Dutch Barn.
Yeah.
Is this a long-term strategy? No. Is it effective at the moment? Yes. That's my...
Here we are talking about it. So, Ricky, you got us. I've got to say, you definitely made us laugh. Raise a glass to you. Hope it works out, my friend. Really do.
Yeah.
Because it's jolly funny. That's just inarguable.
30 quid.
30 quid. Yeah, the price may be arguable, but it's pretty funny. It's pretty funny. And as one of the ads says, the one person this is going to make really, really rich is Ricky Gervais. So it's very funny. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for listening. That's all for now. Bye.
Marketing Global Edition is sponsored by Edgy, the ad generator for small businesses that serves you effective and affordable ads in seconds. And by 7 Brands, the international advertising and branding agency that has worked with clients around the world from Coca-Cola to Facebook.